So, we have changed plans and have decided to do a short quiz on 10.1 to 10.3 only, which is conic sections, parabola, yeah, which includes parabolas. What else? Ellipses, circles, and hyperbolas, right? Circles. And then 10.2 and 10.3, parametrics. And calculus, right? With calculus. So, we need to look at parabolas. We have actually already looked at a parabola that opened right left. What made it open right left? Y is squared, x is not, is a right left one, right? I mean, correct. So you would take that P value and go right or left, depending on whether it's positive or negative. If we have the x is squared only and not the y, like what's going to go on here? What type of parabola is this one going to be, Garrett? The x is squared, not the y. It's going to be an up-down one, right? And for our versions, don't we usually solve for the y?
Indeed.
So then we'll just subtract the 5, right? But we need to complete the square, don't we? Can we complete it right here? Half of -4 is -2. So I'm going to add 4 on both sides, right? So that would be x minus 2 quantity squared, keeping it over there, minus the 9. Does that make sense? So, what is our vertex? 2, -9. We know it's opening up. This is 1 over 4p. So if 1 over 4p equals 1, what in the world?
1/4.
Yeah, p equals 1/4, positive, which means it's going to be opening up. We knew that anyway, right? So the focus, and honestly, if I'm going to get you to graph them anyway, sometimes it's the graph that helps us, find the correct, spot for the focus. Oh gosh, I almost didn't go high enough. -9. I went way too high. -2.
It does open up, so that's fine.
Good. So 2, -9 is our vertex, right? We're going to add 1/4 to the y value, correct?
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be -8 3/4? That's really close. And the directrix then would be the opposite. What would that be?
Y equals
-9 and 1/4. Remember, the official definition. The official definition is that the parabola actually is the set of all values that is equidistant. Every point on here, see, I think the closer it kind of opens up a little bit skinnier.
So this is for any given point on the
Parabola, if you took the distant, yeah, they are equidistant, yeah. So that's officially, we've just never looked at that thing. When I was in school, we looked at it from day one of Algebra 2 when we did conics. Yeah. So, vertex, focus, directrix, and a graph is what I'm looking for, right? So what was the next thing? We haven't done a circle. Let's do a circle.
No, we did do a circle a little later, but hyperbola was in there.
Let's just make up a circle, see if we can. How do I know this is going to be a circle?
Oh, okay.
Your squared, X is Y.
It's plus, the coefficients are the same, right?
4.
Minus 8y
Okay.
plus a number equals 0. I'm filling in that number later, okay? I reserve the right to fill in that number later. Everybody good with that?
No.
All right. So I'm going to group all of the x's together because that's what I need to do. Can I factor out the 2?
Yes, you should.
Thank you.
4.
With the y's, can I factor out the 2? That would be 2 times 4 is 8. I can factor. Equals whatever this is in a negative version. All right, so half of, we're going to complete the squares, right? Half of 2 is 1. But I'm really adding 2, correct? Here, half of 4 is 2, negative 2. But I'm really adding 8, right? So I'm going to say 1.
So then you can get a little 9.
I lied. Hang on.
What?
Hang on.
You're cheating.
Just a second.
That's fine. You get a 9.
Why don't you just leave it as it is, right?
I'm going to say minus 8 here. So I'm going to say plus 8. All right. I reserved the right to change it, so I did.
Why is it 18?
Just watch. What's our completed squares?
X plus 1 squared,
What's the other one?
y minus 2 squared,
Equals what?
18.
But what is wrong with this as a form for a
Needs to
circle?
equal 1.
No, it needs to equal r squared, but these have to, we can't have coefficients here.
Why couldn't we just left it?
Now what's the center of the circle?
Negative 1, 2.
What's the radius?
3.
There we go. So we can graph that. And for a circle, that's all I'm asking for. The center, the radius, and the graph. No foci, no whatever else. Can we graph that? Can y'all graph it on your paper? Negative 1, 2. So negative 1, 2, we drew the center. Radius is 3, 1, 2, 3.
You just label your axis.
That was one of my better circles. Has a slight, indentation. All right, so we got circles, we got parabolas. We need an ellipse. So what if we just change that one to be a
4.
8.
4?
Yeah.
19.
Oh, well, the reason is because,
I like to make icky math now, so I know how to do it
I-
later.
so it's gonna be a 4, essentially. I'm still reserving my right on this number, is that okay?
Yeah, so you're cheating.
And I'm gonna make it minus some blank number.
You deserve that, right?
So, 2x squared, factor out that 2. Factor out the 4. This was gonna be kind of boring, you're right.
Yeah, you're the one who picked 4, right?
Equals positive blank, right? Complete the square, but I'm really adding 2.
It's okay to be one.
Complete that square, but I'm really adding 4. So it's a little different, right? I mean, it's not going to be beautiful. Let's just say, let's just say 10. So 10 plus 2 plus 4 would be 16. Complete these squares, right? What do we do next? Do you feel my dilemma when I was choosing that? Because 2 goes into 16 8 times. That one is not a perfect square. But the next one is a perfect square.
There has to be what do you mean a perfect square?
Well, remember, like, it would be nicer if this had been some number that would have created when 2 reduced into it. It was, I just couldn't come up with a number that reduced with a 4 and a 2 to leave perfect squares, sorry. So, which one is yeah. Oh, it comes from these completed squares. When I completed the square, I took half the 2, 1, I squared it, it became 1, but I'm really adding what over here? 2. So I got to add 2 to this side of the equation. Same thing here. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. Squared is 1. So to complete the square, I need a 1. However, I'm not really just adding 1. I'm adding 4 times 1. So, is this a right-left one or an up-down one?
No, it's a left right one, because it's wider.
The bigger number is under the X, so it's definitely a, I mean, it's not really, it's slightly wider, or whatever. Anybody, go ahead.
Confused about how you choose the first number to fill in. Like, if you go back to the top of the first step and you leave that first blank, why?
Yeah, where does the 10 come from?
Oh, this number will be filled in for you. I'm making up this problem as we go, and I didn't want it to be a train wreck. It's almost a train wreck because 8 is not a perfect square, but 4 is, so, it's not terrible. And these are nice whole numbers for the center.
Why does 8 have to be a perfect square?
I mean, just because it's nicer to graph it. If this was a 9, we'd go right and left how many from the center? 3. And we go up, down,
Oh, so now
2. So now we're going a number that's slightly less than 3. But it's okay. We'll survive. So let's start with our center, which is what? Negative 1. Negative 1 what?
Oh, sorry, negative 10.
Positive 1. Negative 1, positive 1, correct? Let me label those axes for someone.
away from them, it's the labor guy.
Alright, so from the center, negative 1, 1, we're going to go right, left, the square root of 8, which is really almost 3, right? A little less than 3. And we're going to go up, down from that vertex, 2. Now, how do I get, so in terms of sketching that thing, you know, it's not hard. But we do need the foci. So what is c squared equal to little c squared? That's capital C. A squared minus b squared. Oh, looky there.
So it did work out basically.
Oh, look. It's either you're going to have a nice
C or
C or a nice, you know, so 1, 2 to the right.
completely nice.
How did I know to go to the right, 2 to the right, or 2 to the left?
Left, right.
Yeah.
But if the A is full, what B is full.
So the foci would be
Right, A is greater. This one.
negative 1 plus 2, 1 comma 1, and negative 3 comma 1.
What's the name of the formulas? No,
Do what?
the formulas for, like, okay, what are they called?
Um,
I'm just going to Google and write them down here.
I mean, I'm not sure if I would even try to think of a formula. I would say if the bigger number is under the x, I'm going right or left from the center, C units. Right or left would change the x value, correct? That's all I'm doing. I'm adding 2 to the negative 1, and I'm subtracting 2 from the negative 1.
Is it just the two?
C squared equals A squared minus B squared, and for an ellipse, the A is just always the bigger number. So if the bigger number was under the Y, then instead of going right, left, we would go up, down. Yeah. To see that what you want to see higher on here. Okay. Yeah. So guys, and the only thing we haven't looked at really is hyperbolas, right? What if I had just changed this right here to a minus?
Is that literally all?
Everything else would be the same, correct?
And then the C would be root 12.
And the C, so if this was our final one after all the completing the squares. Then we know, and we know it's a hyperbola because of the subtraction, right? And guys, on a hyperbola, the coefficients could be the same. It would just be like the perfect square box, right? When we graph it, but negative 1, 1 is still the center. Negative 1, 1. But for the, is this going to be a right-left hyperbola or an up-down hyperbola? The x one is positive, so it's a right-left. Was that your question?
No, it's a completely different question. I felt like
Down here?
Yeah, so what is like, I'm confused, I got behind, why is there like another C that's like squared equals 8 minus 4? What is that?
This C is the distance to the foci from the center. No, C squared. For ellipses, c squared equals a squared minus b squared. The larger one minus the smaller one. But in hyperbolas, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Again, a squared is just the largest one, right? So has anybody figured out our c squared if we changed it to the minus right here?
Well, c squared equals 12.
C squared equals 12. C squared equals 8 plus 4. C squared equals 12. C would be, what is that, 2 root 3 plus or minus? But that's still like a number 3.5-ish, right?
Sure.
So, for, but let's finish our sketch, because we can sketch a hyperbola just from here, can't we?
Sure.
Right, left, square root of 8, which we already said was almost 3, right? And those are the vertices, because that's under the positive one, correct? Up, down, we would go 2, but just to form the edges of our box, so we can figure out where the asymptotes are, the slanted asymptotes, right? Connect the corners of the box through the center. So there's my sketch. I'm heading towards those asymptotes. But the one extra step is to add that 2 root 3 to get the foci, right? What do we say that was? About 3.5-ish. 1, 2, 3.5 from the center, yeah. So what are the, well, the two vertices then would be 2, 1 and
-1.
-4, 1. The
Or it's not
foci,
-4, it's -8.
oh, that's right. It's not 2, 1, it's, the center was -1, 1. So go from -1, so -1 plus root 8
Yeah.
and -1 minus root 8. You're exactly right. The foci are easier, right? Well, not really, because we're adding 2 root 3, right? So -1 plus 2 root 3, comma 1, and -1 minus 2 root 3. Those would be the foci, right?
2 root 3 and root 8.
2 root 3 is the square root of 12, right? Yeah. 2 root 2. Yeah, this would be 2 root 2 if we were making it nicer. For a second, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. So, and then, of course, parametrics, we've done more recently, but, so get going on the worksheet and hopefully,
I think we should probably review. Parametric.
I think you can go through your notes a little bit, can't you?
I don't remember how to combine them.
I still don't know what to.
How do I turn it into one page?
Solve for t in one of them and replace it in the other.